Hi, my name is Timothy! Welcome to a tutorial where you will learn to make a puppet like me. Have fun! Now let's go play, okay guys? Bye. Yeah, let's go.
So I'm going to start with a whole bunch of materials. I don't know if I'm going to use all of them, but whatever you have on hand, try to throw it in, and maybe you'll make something even more creative than me. What you're definitely going to want to have is an empty egg container. I'd start by cutting it in half. From a single egg container, you should be able to make, from a single dozen egg container, you should be able to make 2 separate dragon puppets. So I've cut it in half once. I have a bunch of different colors of construction paper. I have some tape so that I can put things together. If you have glue, even better. I don't have glue, just tape, so that's what I'm using. I have some feathers from another project I did once, so I might use these. And a black Sharpie would be great. I also have a whole bunch of markers for coloring. If you have paint, that's great to use too. I don't have paint, so I'm not going to use that. You'll also want to have a pair of scissors. That's definitely going to be helpful. I do want to cut off 2 so that I can use these to make my eyeballs. So I'm going to use my scissors and cut along the line. It's definitely easier if you have a cardboard egg carton as opposed to plastic, but I think that should work just fine too. So then I'm going to cut along the line. Perfect. So now I have the top and the bottom. This is going to be the teeth, and this is going to be the top. Eventually my fingers are going to go in the back, and I'm going to be able to lift up like that. So you want the mouth to be 2 separate pieces, and we're going to work on connecting it in the back here. So I'm going to separate these, the 2 that I cut off for the eyeballs. You can see they kind of already look like eyeballs. I'm going to cut off this top bit from the top of the egg fold. So I'm going to cut that off here. What you might want to do if you have paint is you can paint around. If you have a black marker like I do, I'm going to use my Sharpie to make my pupils. Okay, so I'm going to explain how to make the eyes. As you can see, I did one side already, and now I'm going to walk you through the other side. So once you have colored in the pupil, you're going to take a piece of paper that's going to be a little bit wider than the circle, than the circumference. No, not circumference. Oh my gosh, I'm getting math words. All the way across, double the radius. Once you have the square, you're going to fold it in half. I took a pen and I held up my folded over piece of paper up against the circle of the eye, and I measured the bottom and the top so that I knew about how big I needed my circle to be. Then, with it still folded over, I take my scissors and I'm going to cut out half of a circle. Then when you open it up, you've got that circle in the middle. And you are going to lay that over the eye. But in order for it to come down this way, you're going to cut out a little triangle right here on the inner side. Okay, as you see, because it's divided by this kind of line for the eggs, this triangle helps to lay the piece of paper down over the eye. See, I'm going to lay it down over here, and that is going to look great. So then in order to lay it flat, you're just going to kind of have to play with the paper. I'm using this fold at the top of the eye. If you fold it over and you kind of really press into the fold, it almost gives it a little character, like he's got an eyebrow here maybe. So you can fold it that way. Maybe the bottom, you just press down under there. And then you're just going to use tape to tape it on all sides. All right, and then once you're done with that, if you want to add some red marker into the eye just to make it a little bit scarier, you can draw some squiggly lines here, like the little veins in your eyeball. Cool, so now we have our eyes. Just gonna cut off this little extra bit that I don't need. So now I just have the bottom. This is for my teeth. All right, so I had this extra tube sock and I cut off the top part. We're gonna see if this will work. I'm gonna use it to help make the puppet. So I got a stapler and I'm going to staple. I'm gonna put this sock through the bottom. So it's coming at the bottom. I just got this top bit and I'm gonna staple here, and then I'm going to staple it on the other side of his mouth. So now I've stapled it to the top. All right, so you can see that I've kind of stapled the tube sock that way. I have the makings of my puppet because I can stick my hand through the tube sock. And what I'm going to want is to have my index finger on one side and my other fingers on the other side. I can close up my mouth here. And now I can open and shut the mouth. All right, so with adult supervision, you can put a little cut or stab through the top. You really want to make sure your hand is not right underneath it, otherwise you're going to hurt yourself. So you are going to create a little slice in the top so that you can stick your popsicle stick in there, just wide enough for that. And this is what's going to allow you to control the top of the mouth. You can take your index finger and your middle finger, grab it around the popsicle stick, and this way you can control the mouth opening and closing around your monster puppet. So now I'm going to take my eyeballs and I'm going where the egg carton bit used to be. I'm going to make a little slice here and a slice here. And that is how I'm going to be able to slide my eyeballs onto the popsicle stick. And then I can secure them with some tape. All right, so since I have these feathers, I'm going to use them, and I'm going to use them to kind of conceal this popsicle stick coming out of his head. So I'm just going to tape one on this side and the other on the other side, and just kind of wrap that tape around. Cool. And I'm going to make some hair for him. All right, so to make his nose, I did the same thing. I just took a piece of paper, I cut a whole bunch of little lines in it, and then I folded it kind of in half. And now that's going to go on the front of his face right here, a little bit like this. And that's going to be his nose. It's going to have a little bit of a pointy nose right there. All right, so I'm going to take my red paper and I cut out a square of that. And you can use that to make a pretty cool looking tongue. That. And that is going to be attached to the inside of his mouth right there. Ta-da! Now we're going to do the flames on the side of his face, or the extra tiles or scales on the side of his face, just to finish making him look pretty awesome. So I started by cutting 2 squares of yellow and 2 squares of blue. You can use whatever colors you want. And then I drew out the shape I wanted and cut it out. So this is what I got for the yellow, and this is what I got for the blue. And once I cut out the first one, then I can just trace it on the second one so that they're exactly the same for both sides. I'll place it on the paper, and then I'm just going to trace around the original. All right, so now that I have them traced out, so I can cut it again, I'm going to show you a cutting trick I have that's really not much of a trick, but just in case you didn't know, you can do this when you're cutting. Instead of following the line up and down, which is a lot of moving for your hand, when you have V's like this to cut, you can just cut both of them from the outside going towards the center, and then pull it at that tip. So again, you're kind of just cutting from the outside angle. That means you just can do 2 straight cuts without the paper getting in your way, and then pull it out. Maybe we'll cut around this so we get a nice little round. So we want to tape it to the top, because if we tape it to the whole thing, then our puppet mouth won't be able to open anymore. So I'm going to get some tape, and I'm going to start by taping the blue to my yellow like this, so I can get this nice, cool little look here. I'm going to tape it together. Tape it to my face. We use a little bit of extra tape on the bottom so that it doesn't totally fly off. Secure it to the top of the mouth. And then I finished up by making some teeth by cutting some V's on some paper. And I'm just going to tape it to the roof of my puppet's mouth. Introducing you all to my new roommate. Fingers go in here. Grab my little popsicle stick so I can make him talk.
I am an angry dragon. I need more red in my mouth, please and thank